Did Adeleke win Osun 2026 election because of Tinubu, or because of Osun voters? Governor Ademola Adeleke has been re-elected as governor of Osun State after securing 511,067 votes, defeating the APC candidate, Bola Oyebamiji, who polled 444,815 votes. But after the election, one political statement has generated serious debate: Adeleke's acknowledgement of President Bola Tinubu and his role in the election. Adeleke has praised Tinubu for what he described as allowing the election to be free and fair, while also reaffirming his support for Tinubu's 2027 presidential ambition. This has created three major arguments on the internet. Some believe Adeleke is trying to avoid a possible legal battle. Others believe he wants the president to release withheld local government funds belonging to Osun. And another school of thought says Adeleke is strategically positioning himself for a stronger political relationship with Tinubu ahead of 2027. But there is another fundamental question. Who actually gave Adeleke his victory, Tinubu or the people of Osun State? Let's critically examine this. 1. The argument that Adeleke wants to avoid a post-election court battle. This argument deserves consideration, but it remains an interpretation, not an established fact. In Nigerian politics, politicians understand that elections do not necessarily end with the announcement of results. They can continue in the courts. Therefore, maintaining a cordial relationship with the president and the federal political establishment could be viewed as a strategic attempt to reduce political confrontation. However, we must be careful. We cannot accuse Adeleke of abandoning principle merely because he congratulated or praised Tinubu. A politician can disagree with another politician politically and still maintain a working relationship with him. The real test is not what Adeleke says about Tinubu. The real test is whether Adeleke will defend the constitutional rights and interests of Osun people when those interests conflict with federal political interests. That is where objective criticism becomes important. 2. The argument about withheld local government funds. This argument has stronger political context. The Osun State government has repeatedly complained about billions of naira in local government allocations allegedly being withheld. In January 2026, Adeleke's administration said more than 130 billion naira in statutory allocations had been withheld and appealed for their release. More recently, groups have again called on the federal government to release the withheld funds, with one report putting the figure at more than 200 billion naira. So, when people ask whether Adeleke's improved relationship with Tinubu could help unlock those funds, the question is not completely unreasonable. But we must distinguish political speculation from evidence. There is currently no publicly established evidence proving that Adeleke praised Tinubu in exchange for the release of Osun's local government funds. That allegation therefore needs evidence before it can be presented as fact. Nevertheless, there is a legitimate democratic concern here. If political cooperation helps Osun access legitimate federal resources, that can be beneficial. But if public funds are released only as a reward for political loyalty, that would raise a much more serious question about federalism, constitutional governance and fairness. Government resources should follow the law, not political loyalty. 3. The argument that Adeleke is positioning himself for 2027. This is perhaps the most politically interesting interpretation. Adeleke has reaffirmed his support for Tinubu's 2027 re-election bid. His supporters may describe this as political maturity, reconciliation and cooperation. His critics may describe it as political calculation. Both interpretations are possible. Politics is, after all, about relationships, interests and negotiations. But supporting Tinubu does not automatically mean Adeleke has betrayed Osun. The important question is, what exactly did Adeleke promise, and what will Osun receive in return? If his relationship with the president produces federal projects, releases legitimate funds, attracts investment and improves development in Osun, citizens may ultimately benefit. But if political endorsement comes at the expense of the interests of Osun voters, then citizens have every right to question it. 4. But let's not rewrite history. Osun voters voted. This is where the argument from Adeleke's opponents deserves serious attention. President Tinubu himself congratulated Adeleke and described the victory as confirmation of the confidence Osun voters have in him. That statement is important. Whatever political influence the president possesses, the ballot papers were ultimately cast by Osun voters. The people went to polling units. They made choices. They defended their votes. And the Independent National Electoral Commission announced Adeleke as the winner. One prominent reaction also argued that Osun youths defended their votes for Adeleke, emphasizing the role of citizens in the outcome. Therefore, it would be historically and democratically wrong to reduce Adeleke's victory simply to President Tinubu. There were several factors at play: incumbency, Adeleke's grassroots structure, his political network, his campaign, his family name and his connection with voters. Analysts have also highlighted his grassroots strength and political structure. So, Tinubu may have influenced the political environment, but Osun voters cast the votes. Those are two different things. 5. What should Adeleke do now? This is the most important lesson. Governor Adeleke should be free to maintain a productive relationship with President Tinubu. In fact, Osun people should expect him to have a good relationship with Abuja. Why? Because politics should ultimately serve the people. If the president controls federal institutions, federal projects and national policy, a state governor should not turn political disagreement into permanent hostility. But cooperation must have boundaries. Adeleke should remember that his mandate belongs to the people of Osun. The people are not political merchandise. They did not vote for him so that their mandate could become a bargaining chip for personal political advancement. If he supports Tinubu in 2027, that is his political choice. If he seeks federal cooperation, that is also legitimate. But he must be able to explain to Osun citizens, what does Osun gain from this relationship? And more importantly, what will Adeleke do when the interests of Osun conflict with the interests of the federal government? That is the real test of leadership. Akayi News final verdict. To those attacking Adeleke for thanking Tinubu, I would say, do not confuse political reconciliation with political betrayal without evidence. A governor can thank a president and still defend his state. To those celebrating Adeleke's statement as proof that Tinubu gave him victory, I would equally say, do not erase the Osun electorate. The voters, not Abuja, cast the decisive ballots. And to Governor Adeleke, the message is simple. Be grateful to everyone who contributed to a peaceful election, but never forget who owns the mandate. Your second term belongs constitutionally to the people who elected you. Therefore, The strongest political position is neither blind loyalty to Tinubu nor blind hostility towards him. It is principled cooperation. Work with the president where Osun benefits. Disagree where Osun's interests require disagreement. Demand legitimate local government funds without compromising constitutional principles. And if you support Tinubu in 2027, make your reasons clear to the people. Because ultimately, democracy is not about who receives political credit. It is about who receives the benefit of government. This is Akahi Master Analysis. Think beyond the headlines. Question every narrative. And always put the interests of the people first. Thank you for watching and listening. By Joseph Iyaji, Akahi News.